David, let me ask you, I'm going to shift gears. The big treat I've been telling people about you coming on is you're going to recite Lincoln's second inaugural address. But before I get you to do that, I know that's going to take a lot of wind out of you. But I want to get a couple of stories. Now, I know you went to not only Loyola, but you went to Lane Tech.
And I went to Lane Tech, right.
There couldn't have been too many African Americans going there at that time. Tell us, if you will, the year. And I wanted you to talk a little about, you knew Fritz Pollard. And Fritz Pollard was one of the, I think he was the first African American football player in the pros. And I know he went to Brown University. He's a legendary guy. So tell us a little bit about what it was like at Lane and what you remember about Fritz.
Well, Fritz went to the old Lane. Lane celebrated his 100th anniversary last year, and it was located before it moved to Addison Western down in Sedgwick and Division, and Fritz Pollard went there. Actually, Judge Deuce Slater, who was a star football player at Iowa, was really among the first professionals. He played with the Chicago Cardinals. And as a little boy, probably in the late 30s, I can remember sitting at Comiskey Park with my father watching Deuce Slater go both ways. You know, there was no
defense and offense.
No defense. But Deuce Slater later became a judge. And he when he was at Iowa and the guy who was a coach at Notre Dame, he ended a 20-game winning streak at Notre Dame. Leighton.
I'd root for Iowa over Notre Dame.
But one of my, Northwestern had another, one of my flying mates was Bernie Jefferson, who graduated from Northwestern. And Northwestern won the Big Ten championship in 1936, mainly due to the efforts of Bernie Jefferson. He was also, he became a principal of a high school on the south side of Chicago, but a really remarkable guy.
How many African Americans were at Lane when you were there?
Five. Out of a student body of about 8,000. When I went into Lane Tech in 1936, half of this kids walking through that door on that bright September day were in a program called Smith Hughes. It was a 2-year terminal program which prepared them to go into the trades, to become apprentices. They had no idea they were going to complete school. Finishing high school was a luxury in those days. So the Smith Hughes program was a pre-vocational training program for, in 1936, most of the students at Lane Tech were first and second generation Americans. And of course, you know, they had to get in the workforce as soon as they could. But,
what were you studying when you went to Lane? Because you went on to college. You didn't go into the trade.
I was at Lane Tech. I was in what they call a college preparatory course. And, of course, I started out at Loyola back in 1941 when they had about 300 students and no girls.
And how many African Americans were at Lane?
Five.
At Loyola?
At Loyola, 3 at that time in 1941. And after the war, we had 7 in a student body of about 300.
Well, let me just ask this. You know, there's a lot of, you seem like a guy who's gotten along with people all along, although I'm sure you met some challenges. But what was it like at Lane, being one of 5 African Americans in 1936? And what was it like at Loyola, being one of 3 African Americans
I think,
in 41?
I would say that I can't ever remember encountering any prejudice outright. I think there weren't enough of us really to make a difference. I think we got kind of lost in the shuffle. But that wasn't the case down at Tuskegee, of course.
No, I bet not.
And I might tell you this story. When I was called up, I left Chicago on October 16th, 1942, and I went in, I got a bunch of us, about 5 of us were on our way to Tuskegee. And we got on the Chicago and Eastern Illinois Railroad, got down to Evansville, Indiana, and we were politely escorted into the Jim Crow car on our way to fight the Nazis.
Revel in the contradictions.
But in any event, Tuskegee is located halfway between Montgomery, Alabama, and Columbus, Georgia. and there's a station you get off at, to go to Tuskegee called Chehaw, Alabama. And when we got there were about 5 of us that got off the train. There was a redneck lieutenant there who read us the rape statutes of the state of Alabama. How about that?
First thing they want to let
That
you know
was my
about.
first introduction into the Army, right? And the second one was, of course, to learn the dodo verse. A dodo is an amoeba of an Army pilot to be properly chastened and subdued by an intricate course of predetermined idealistically integrated formula for the purpose of impressing upon the unused convolutions of his cerebrum the correct proper function, duties, and other instantaneous assimilations of the compound and aggregate wisdom of the previously initiated intelligence in direct control of his movement self.
All right. Well, now that you're starting to talk, rapidly,
Okay.
I'm going to ask you to share with us the second inaugural address by Abraham
It was
Lincoln.
kind of